Welcome to the Simply Imperfect Podcast. If you're on the hunt for perfection, you may want to keep looking because we are imperfection at its finest around here. However, if you're looking to have conversations covering the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between about life, you've come to the right place. We not only embrace life's imperfections around here, we celebrate them. So for those of you who've decided to join us on this journey, go grab yourself a beverage, sit down, settle in, and let's get started. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are going to talk about somebody who I didn't realize was as controversial as she apparently is, and that is Miss Rachel Hollis. For those of you who don't know, Rachel Hollis is one of those kind of like jack of all trades media people. As of currently, you can kind of see her everywhere doing everything, but she originally got her start doing mommy blogging, party planning, and then she kind of made the jump to influencer and then self-help author and then motivational speaker. And now she kind of has this business empire that really encompasses a lot of things. Like I said, motivational speaker. She's got books, she's got a podcast, she has an app that has like health and fitness stuff. She does big conventions, both, previously she had done relationships and then business and, women's seminars. She kind of, like I said, does a jack of all trades. But recently she posted some things on social media that caused a little bit of an uproar. And if we're being honest, Rachel isn't a stranger to stirring a little controversy. And I was aware of this, but I wasn't exactly aware of how much she did this. So Rachel kind of got her first big bang on the influencer stage in 2015 when she posted on Instagram a picture of herself in a bikini. And I will link this in the show notes. But it basically talked about how her body had carried and delivered 3 beautiful boys, and she had stretch marks, and she had earned her stripes, and she was proud of them, and she wasn't going to hide them and she was going to wear the bikini. And that just kind of seemed to start the snowball. And 3 years later, she published her first book, which was Girl, Wash Your Face. A year later, she published Girl, Stop Apologizing in 2019. And then 2020, she published Didn't See That Coming. And while looking into the thing that recently caused controversy, I am finding that those books also caused a pretty big, uproar, for lack of a better phrase. Now, her books aren't the only place that she seems to cause some controversy, and her social media, specifically her Instagram, seems to be a bane of contention for some people as well. So let's talk about some of the first controversy that I really discovered. So her first book, Girl, Watch Your Face, was a smash hit. It was a self-help, if you dream it, you can believe it type of book. And it seemed like when it came out in 2018, everybody was reading it. I remember seeing it all over social media. My friends were posting about it. I was seeing it in their purses. Everybody was reading this book. I have read this book as well. And while I remember parts of this book being incredibly encouraging, there were also places of this book which rubbed me the wrong way, and one of them very specifically being this narrative that runs throughout this book about this bad boy or this booty call that she was seeing in her early 20s. And at the end of the book, you discover that this guy that she's talking about that put her through some of these horrible things is her now husband. And you're reading this book and she's talking about like standing up for yourself, believing in yourself, you can do it. And then there's this underlying narrative about the bad boy can eventually grow up and be the good guy. And it just, I don't know about anybody else, but that sat wrong with me. And I don't know if that was the intended point, but it was there throughout. Now, don't get me wrong. I read this book. I read this book more than once. I recommended it to friends depending on what they were going through in their life, because I felt like even though there was one narrative in the book that didn't sit well with me, I still felt that there were points that could be well taken throughout the book. And I read her second book, and while I didn't love it as much as the first, because it seemed to be kind of the same tone, just wrapped up in a different package, I didn't walk away with any negative feelings. But over the last year and a half, there have been some things that didn't sit well with me, but I didn't realize that it was more than just me that it didn't sit well with. There are people who have branded or lumped Rachel's type of positivity into what people are calling toxic positivity, and that it is this, if it's not working, it's because you're not working hard enough. And this type of positivity kind of overlooks the fact that not everything in life is positive, and acknowledging that isn't a weakness or a downfall, and that sometimes you can't just work harder, and that's okay, and you haven't failed, even if you haven't accomplished what you've wanted to do. But here's the thing about like self-help and motivation and all of that kind of stuff. Something that works for me may not work for you, and that's why there's so many out there. And I even spoke to it at the time when I read the book. I personally felt it was helpful to me. But looking back, knowing what I know now, knowing some of the things I know now, I look at it differently. And that I don't think necessarily makes the book bad. It just means in my time of life right now, it's not the type of self-help or motivation that serves me the best. So Rachel's first book, Girl Stop Apologizing, along with her Instagram, have brought her under criticism for plagiarizing. And I had discovered the plagiarism accusations when a company had sued Rachel Hollis's company for trademark infringement. They had trademarked the phrase "made for more," and they were alleging that Rachel had used it even though she knew that they had trademarked it. And when this happened, it also introduced the plagiarism accusations, and that was what brought a lot of her controversy to my attention, and was what originally made me kind of back off from really supporting and purchasing her products and all of that kind of stuff. Which, sadly enough, was also really close to when I attended a virtual Rise event and won a whole bunch of stuff. So I attended the virtual event, I won a giveaway, and I won a t-shirt and a whole bunch of her like cards and postcards and stickers. I even won a Start Today journal. And I remember right about the same time that I got it is when I found out about the lawsuit and the plagiarism. And I was like, this just doesn't feel right anymore. So I kind of just moved on. And the thing about the plagiarism is it's something that she has been called out on for more than one occasion. And I will link in the show notes a specific article and any of the other stuff that I've combined talking about the stuff that she has posted and portrayed as it being her own, but it obviously isn't. And one of the big ones is a Maya Angelou phrase, "and still I rise." So when she posted this on her Instagram and didn't give any credit, a lot of people were like, hey, hold on, what's going on here? And then she did something that is seeming to be a trend for her. So she posted an apology on her Instagram, but instead of just apologizing, she blamed it on her team. And this is something that she has done more than just once. So I'll post a link to this specific post in the show notes. But here's the thing. She goes to on to blame her social media team for the post. And she did it this time. And I know she's done it at least one other time. And instead of just accepting responsibility, she blames it on her team. And the thing that got me when I first read this apology and her most recent one is, you are this person who is claiming to be there for you, to encourage you, to uplift you. And yet you're not even the person that's supposedly running your social media. You're not I understand that these big influencers have teams. I understand it. But why is she not reviewing the things that are being posted faster than I realized yesterday morning? Like, why is it taking so long? And if it's not you, who is it that your followers are connecting to? If it's not you curating these posts and reviewing them and posting them, is it really you that your 1 point however million followers are relating to? People make mistakes, and it happens. It's a problem when it keeps happening. You know, there's quite a few more things that she has posted, has barely changed, and then portrayed it as being hers, downright to the very first title and content of her first book is very similar to another book called Hey Ladies, Stop Apologizing. So it just puts into question, are any of these original ideas? Are any of these original thoughts? Or are they just repackaged thoughts from other people? And then last year happened. And I think there were a lot of people that felt it was the final straw. So in June of 2020, Rachel and Dave Hollis announced their separation and divorce, which took social media by storm because they portray themselves and the marketing for a lot of their books, products, conferences is their marriage, and about how the answer to problems with your marriage is working through it and therapy and communication and an active sex life and a weekly date night. They talk about all of this. And then we find out that it's good enough to sell to you in this pretty package of how awesome our marriage is. But yet now you're filing for divorce. And while I don't think a divorce is something to be ashamed of, however, if you are packaging and marketing your products and using your marriage as the example as to why people should trust your authority, you got to be real with people and you got to be out there. And unfortunately, I understand that everybody should be allowed to have their private life. And I'm not saying that there aren't things people shouldn't be allowed to keep private. However, if those things are the marketing plan for your products, you don't get to keep it a secret anymore because you made the decision to portray the thing you are selling, your advice, your relationship counseling, your relationship conferences. Like, look how awesome we are, your podcast. All of the advice that you put out there is based on, look how awesome our marriage is. And then seemingly out of the blue, you are now announcing your divorce. And then Dave posts, and it's no longer there. However, Dave posts about them struggling for 3 years. So if you back 2020 up 3 years, that means both of Rachel's books, Girl Stop Apologizing, Girl Wash Your Face, their seminars, their conferences, their podcasts, everything in its heyday was all happening. They were portraying this amazing marriage All while Dave is claiming their marriage was struggling. And they packaged their marriage up with a pretty little bow and said, look how awesome we are. You just need to talk it out and have sex and have a weekly date night and everything will be perfect like our marriage. And yet, for 3 years prior to them separating, apparently they were having issues. Which marriage is hard. I'm still in the very new phases of marriage. I am nowhere near somebody who can give advice. I am not an expert. However, it feels pretty icky for somebody to say, take my advice, paint my marriage as this perfect thing, and then find out you were on the verge of divorce for 3 years. It just feels icky. So then adding on to the icky feeling, yes, icky, it's a technical term, is Rachel's third book, which is titled, Didn't See That Coming, Putting Life Back Together When Your World Falls Apart. Which now, looking back, you're like, oh, she's going through a divorce. This totally makes sense, right? Except for the timeline of everything that happened. She was writing this book prior to them announcing their divorce. They announced their divorce in June. She announced the book in July. It was available in September. So if you back this up even further, on May 16th, 2020, she posts this picture on Instagram, and it's the picture of her and her 3 boys jumping into the pool, and the title says, or the caption says, "Today I turned in my 10th book to the publisher. We celebrated big." Now, there are so many things that came out, and like I said, I am not judging somebody's relationship and divorce. What I am criticizing is what you portray to the following that you have built claiming to be 100% authentic. And if you are portraying yourself as happily married while you are writing a book called I Didn't See That Coming prior to announcing your divorce, and then a month after your divorce, you're like, surprise, I wrote this book and I was going to be, she talks about it in her announcement, the Sherpa. It wasn't something I had been through, but I was going to help you get through it. And then we announced the divorce. So I had to go back through and edit it with different eyes. So you were getting both sides, somebody who hadn't been through it and somebody who had been through it all in one book. And it just didn't feel authentic. And this is what a lot of people called her out for. I am not one of these people, but there are people out there who are alleging this is all a publicity stunt. And while I think that allegation is awful, connecting the dots to get to that end isn't all that far-fetched. And while I do not believe anybody would put their children through that, and I don't think that's the case here, it is just incredibly sad that somebody has created such a mass following that there is now a large chunk of that who question her motives and if she truly is being authentic. And then that now brings me to the recent controversy, because yes, that's not all of it. So Rachel did a live on Instagram where she was talking about how she has somebody who comes and cleans her house. She has a housekeeper, but she didn't refer to her as a housekeeper. She referred to her as the lady who cleans her toilets. And somebody accused her of being privileged, which she accepted. And in this conversation, when Rachel is referring to herself as privileged, she is talking about financially, what you have in your finances. And there was this conversation back and forth, and Rachel was like, yeah, I'm privileged. I've worked really hard I'll get to the point where I can have help. And the person's response was, you're unrelatable. And up until this point, I don't think anybody had a problem with her being like, yeah, I've worked my butt off. There are some privileges in my life that I've gotten, but I work hard for them. And nobody holds that against her until she posts a TikTok about it. And let me tell you that this video made my skin crawl. The snark in it is insane. And she is talking about, yeah, she's unrelatable. But what part of her makes you think that she wants to be relatable? And this smirk she has on her face, the look she has, it made me go, holy cow. And here's the thing. She has built an entire business on being relatable. You can relate to me. I am just like you. I have stretch marks. I struggle with my kids. I'm out there. I am just like you. So you can relate to me. So you can take my advice. So that way you'll buy my books. You'll buy my stuff. You'll come to my conferences. You can relate to me. And now all of a sudden she's talking about how she doesn't want to be relatable, which would have been bad enough in itself. But then on top of that, she lists all these incredible women in the caption of this post. And I understand what she's trying to say because she says it in the post about how there are incredible people she looks up to and they were unrelatable, which is not true. They are inspiring, but she does it in a way where she misses the mark, and it seems like she's comparing herself to people, and the point is totally missed. And then a significant amount of time goes by between her posting this TikTok video, which, like I said, is up on my YouTube if you want to watch it. But she posts this TikTok, a significant amount of time passes. She posts an apology, which is up and then deleted because, let me tell you, it was a flop. I have also put that up on my YouTube. You can see it. I will put all this link in the show notes. I will post the pictures and everything. But the apology goes up and comes down. And then a second apology goes up. And once again, in the apology, she is blaming her team. She's saying she listened to her team instead of her gut. She should have reacted faster. And it's like, just take responsibility. There is this sense of entitlement that she now has that is sad. Because she has someone, and I can't be the only one, who read her books. I have both of them. I have them in hard copy. I have them in Audible versions. But so she has someone like me who, through her actions, feels like you now have someone who is a snake in the grass. She isn't what she's portraying herself to be. And if she doesn't want to be relatable, do you want to take advice from somebody who doesn't want to relate to you? And if she doesn't want to relate to you, how is her advice going to apply to you? Why would I attend her conferences? Why would I continue to read her books? Why would I follow her social media and support her? These are all things that I think I'm not the only one that's questioning because she seems out of touch with the normal person. And that has nothing to do with the fact that, and I'm quoting her, she is somebody who comes and cleans her toilets. Because let's be honest, I would love to have gotten to a place in my career where there's someone who could come and help me clean my house. It's something I don't like doing. It's something that when I get busy, I don't have time to do. And I thoroughly support people who acknowledge that there are things in their life that they don't have, not that they don't have time for, but that when looking at allocating their time, when you look at something that you know you can outsource to somebody else and it lightens your load and makes you a better wife, mother, person, then do it. And so if that is, for me, it's ordering in meal kits. So I don't have to meal plan. It shows up on my patio. It's pre-planned meals. I know I don't have to grocery shop, which is one of my least favorite things to do. It is a thing that makes me a better wife because I know that when I walk in the door at the end of the day, I haven't forgotten to pull out something for dinner. I haven't forgotten to go to the grocery store. There are things that you can look at your life and outsource to make you a better fill in the blank. And if that is, she has somebody come, if she's got a nanny, if she's got a housekeeper, if she's got, insert all the things that you can outsource to make your life easier. If you can do it and afford it and it makes your life easier and makes you a better wife, mother, whatever, do it. But don't belittle people because you do, or because people call you privileged, because financial privilege, when you have worked hard to be financially successful and it's allowed some privilege in your life, there is nothing wrong with that. No one is saying it. But what is wrong is when you have built an entire business asking people to trust you, to let them in, for you to give them advice. You have all these women who are buying your products because they feel like if they listen to what you're saying, they can be where you are because they relate to you. But yet you don't want to be relatable to them. I don't think she realizes how damaging of a statement that is. And maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe if it was this one thing and she came out and she took true accountability and used it as a learning, as a point to be better and to learn and to grow, maybe it wouldn't be damaging. But when it's something on top of her followers feeling like they were lied to about the marriage, feeling like she has taken the marriage and made it as an opportunity to sell books and make money, the fact that she has been accused and has some pretty good evidence of not only plagiarizing, but doing trademark infringement, there is just a lot of evidence to being like, is this the kind of person you really want to be? Because maybe she was speaking more truth than we knew, and she truly is not relatable. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Simply Imperfect Podcast. If you've enjoyed and don't want to miss an episode, make sure to subscribe. If you'd like to help the podcast out, make sure to leave us a rating and review while you're at it. To keep up to date with all things Simply Imperfect and to join our mailing list, head on over to @simply.imperfect on Instagram. And until next time, folks, make sure to embrace this simple imperfection that we call life.